We've used PowerPoint for our own presentations, seen students use it for class presentations, and seen colleagues use it at conferences. We've reached a point where there's an expectation by the audience that PowerPoint will be used as part of any presentation. And while PowerPoint is an easy, simple tool to use, it can also be very easily abused with the overuse of text, images that contribute nothing to the content, and bullet overload. In this video, we'll look at some best practices for using PowerPoint to better engage your audience and help them avoid the dreaded death by PowerPoint. This is known as the slide from hell. We've all seen slides like this, as well as presentations in which the presenter reads off of these slides verbatim. You can hear the audience collectively groan the minute these slides appear on the projection screen. The audience can read off the slides, so why do we need the presenter to do that for us? Bullets do have their time and place in PowerPoint, but typically you should try to avoid using them. One of the problems with bulleted lists is that the presenter begins talking about the first bullet point and the audience is continuing to read the other bulleted items, so the focus on the topic at hand is lost. We've also seen hideously designed slides like this, with cute animations that we've seen 100 times over. They are huge distractions for the audience who really should be focusing on the presenter and his or her message. Clip art is also a favorite tool of PowerPoint users, and while it also may have its place at times, unless the image really does contribute to the discussion, you should avoid using it entirely. It just becomes another distraction for your audience. More noise. Textured backgrounds are another distraction that you should avoid. The text on this slide is not easy to read at all. I know many institutions use branded slides, which is fine to a degree. The branding should be subtle though, and not take up too much real estate on the slide itself. I was a master of the overuse of text and bullets myself in slideshows, but an online presentation I saw in 2005 forever changed my perspective on the effective use of PowerPoint. Dick Hart, at the time the CEO of a company called Skip Identity, performed the keynote presentation at the OSCON 2005 conference. Here's a snippet from his presentation, which both at the time and to this day remains one of the most dynamic, out-of-the-box methods of using PowerPoint that I've ever seen.
Dick Clarence Hart, and for a number of people here, they remember my identity as being at HIP Communications, where I got involved in Perl, which eventually led to ActiveState with O'Reilly. But some of you probably don't know that I live in Canada, which is located here, for those of you that don't know. And I live in the province of BC, which is over here, the city of Vancouver, which looks like this from the sky, courtesy of Google. We have the Olympics coming up, which is causing its own identity crisis.
Of course, not everyone has the skills to incorporate such a dynamic style, but the ideas of using simple pictures and text to convey points really stuck with me. Shortly thereafter, I was asked to co-present at a NERComp seminar at UMass Amherst with folks from Bridgewater, Salem, and Framingham State about their respective student laptop programs. For my piece, I was asked to discuss the use of laptops in the classroom. I was assigned the 11:30 a.m. slot. I'd seen my colleagues' slides and they were filled with 10 to 15 bullets per slide with extensive amounts of text. With lunch coming up immediately after my speech, I knew I was going to have a very hard time engaging the audience at that point in the day. I put together an outline of what I wanted to discuss, as you see here with this short excerpt from my presentation. But rather than present this outline in bullet form to the audience, I decided to use poignant imagery to help get across my points. I grabbed a digital camera and ran out of my office, and here's how it went. I started off talking about how much I actually hated laptops. I hated the laptop keyboard, the laptop mouse pad, the position of the screen, etc. And I disliked them so much that I actually turned my office laptop into a desktop computer. Notice the external keyboard, external mouse, and the laptop platform to raise the screen to eye level. Having said that, I loved the flexibility of owning a laptop. At any moment I could be mobile and on the go, taking my laptop with me to meetings, conferences, workshops, home, you name it. I then talked about how art professor Dan Cooney was having his students use their laptops to blog about art exhibits in the university's art building. I then talked about how ill-equipped our classrooms were at the time to handle laptops. For instance, you can barely fit textbooks and paper notebooks on some of these older desks, never mind laptop computers. We needed to reconsider the types of classroom furniture we used. Finally, I discussed classroom power issues and one professor who daisy-chained a number of power strips together so that all 30 of his students could power up their laptops, which I'm pretty sure was a fire hazard. I may not have kept hunger out of the minds of my audience at the NERComp conference, but I definitely got their attention. As they say, an image is worth 1,000 words, and these images really helped reinforce my message, which text and bullets can't always do. Shortly thereafter, I also saw presentations by noted intellectual property rights guru Larry Lessig, in which he used simple text on his slides to convey his message. The next time I taught my Management 360 course, I incorporated the styles of Lessig and Hart. For example, this slide was an introduction to a discussion around types of e-commerce. Here is another slide in which the focus was on consumer-to-consumer e-commerce businesses, which got us talking about businesses like eBay. Without having a dozen bullets to distract them, which can often happen with PowerPoint, such as when a presenter is on bullet 2 and the audience is already reading bullet 5, I was able to retain their focus on the topic at hand. The problem with a slideshow filled with images is that if you distribute the slideshow to the audience afterwards via a website, there's no context. The slides won't make much sense. PowerPoint designers suggest writing your talk out, which not only helps you in developing your thoughts in slides, but you can later paste the text into the speaker notes field of each slide, which will help when distributing your slides later to an online audience. In addition, you can use that written talk in developing a journal article. In that same vein of distributing slides, if you plan on doing so, consider using a simple white background with black text. Your audience may want to print the slides out, and using, say, red text on black backgrounds will use up a ton of ink. Most folks won't be familiar with the various PowerPoint printing options available to them, such as printing slides in black and white mode, so their printing budgets will thank you for your slide design thoughtfulness. PowerPoint provides you with the ability to record audio into each slide too. Rather than just post presenter notes in your slideshow, consider recording those notes as audio directly into your slides as well. Another bonus when posting your presentation on a website. And of course, always cite your sources when posting quotes and images on slides. I too often see presenters using image content that they've taken from the web, but they don't attribute any credit to the artist. Finally, if you have students develop PowerPoint presentations for your class, consider having them create pachachkacha slideshows, either for those presentations or as practice presentations. The concept for the pachachkacha is simple. 20 slides, and each slide progresses automatically every 20 seconds. You can also create modifications on this style, such as 10 slides at 20 seconds each. This style forces presenters to create slideshows with simple text and imagery. Long bulleted slideshows won't work. In addition, it's a great exercise in preparation. If you visit the link above containing various video pachachkacha presentations, you'll discover from some of the examples that if you're not prepared ahead of time, the presentation can quickly fall off the rails. Thank you for viewing this video presentation. Please feel free to send me any of your own PowerPoint stories, questions, and other feedback via the email address listed here.